Hi everyone and welcome to tonight's episode of Culture of Paint. On tonight's show we are going to talk about what's caught our eye over the last couple of weeks in the miniatures painting world. For our main topic we're going to discuss goal setting and its place in sort of getting more out of your hobby, and then we'll close out the show as usual taking any questions from the chat and taking a look at what the hashtag paint cultists have been up to. Now Culture of Paint is aimed at a mature audience and we might use explicit language and discuss adult themes. Now let's talk about paint. Right, and the chat's there, and we're back. Good evening. Right, good evening, everyone. I'm Henry, and joining me, as usual, are Andy, Rich, and Matt. Hello, chaps. How are you?
G'day.
Ahoy. Happy New Year.
Good. Yes. Too right. Four days in. How's the... Well, 4 days in, and Rich has already eaten an entire chocolate orange on this conversation. We've only been on about 10 minutes.
It's good, mate. Yeah,
New
it's
year,
good.
mate. You don't need to change.
New Year.
Still feels like
it's really good.
20.
Yeah, it's been a bit weird, right? Lots of people in the chat. Nice to see everyone. Martin, Kane, David. Suspense of not knowing if Rich is going to wear a hat tonight or not. I know, right? You've gone for more like the sort of PE teacher vibe tonight rather than Santa.
Yeah. Santa got made redundant because of COVID.
teach.
A job as a part-time PE teacher.
Nice, mate. At least you get to put a whistle on your keys.
Right, lads.
It's true.
Front to back, lads. Come on.
Right, anyway, enough before we get involved in all that. Right, let's crack on with the first part of the show. We've always said we don't want to do too much waffling, so let's see what's been going on in this sometimes rather strange couple of weeks, particularly for releases and things like that. I think but it's between Christmas and New Year's. But there's always some good hobby tends to come out of it, doesn't it? When people have often got a couple of weeks off and can get
time for hobby of the year, I reckon.
In. Well, you've got a fair bit done, to be fair, haven't you, mate? So
loads, some would say.
Yeah, it's good to playing with your little garden, your bonsai hobby, Warhammer bonsai.
Oh, how yeah,
it's all good. Right, what's up first, Matt?
So first up is...
Nice. Right, I got a bunch of picks because fuck it, why not?
More than one.
We always get a bollock
picks, and I was feeling really I was like, yeah, screw you, I'm gonna have a bunch of them. If only I'd found this before the Critters episode. I mean, just count them. I think I've mentioned in a couple of shows. I'm quite keen to do a bit of Lord of the Rings this year, and work on basing. And I just really enjoyed this. This guy makes, I assume it's a guy that this account makes tons of these little dioramas, sort of their interpretation of the Lord of the Rings books. So not necessarily using sort of the GW minis or anything like that, but just scenes from the books. And this is just his one with Radagast and all the little animals and birds. And it's just that whole what's the idea? Hobby should bring you joy, right? I can just imagine doing this was just fun from start to finish, like no stress, no pressure, and it's executed really nicely. I think sort of just sells it. Excuse me, even more. But yeah, that's why I got.
How big is it?
Well, his hand's in the first photo, I think, isn't it?
Yeah,
just at the bottom.
It's pretty tiny.
Right. So it's like a plinth like this.
Yeah.
Cool.
This is quite on point for me because yesterday I was looking at a load of these stags in the reels. It was nice.
There you go.
I watched them running through the field, and I was like, "Oh, Henry's going to be furious when I tell him I want to make a stag mini."
That's all right. So it's maybe one too late. Let's give it. That's all. We're going to do a whole Critters Kickstarter at some point. So that's the retirement fund, right?
I've been trying to find that antelope model to paint this year.
You haven't lost it, have you?
Well, it's somewhere. Like I've obviously put it in a nice place, but I just can't find it. But we'll get it done this year.
Really safe.
I particularly liked the sort of lily pads bit in the water. I assume that's what it is. Down on the bottom right. Like you see a lot of sort of resin pours and all the rest of it, but I thought this water was particularly nice. Like I like the blue. I like the plant life and stuff in it. But just it's a great account. If this sort of tickles you, then go give this account a follow. It's spot on. As I said, I've got a couple of picks actually, I think. So I can't even remember how many now. It's at least 2.
It's only 2.
Oh, there we go. It's only 2.
Behaved.
It's all right. By this time of the night, I don't know what year it is, to be honest with you. I don't know what day it is by this time of the evening. Right, what's the next pick then? Oh, yeah.
I saw this.
Love this account. As we're going to talk about tonight, this whole sort of goal setting, and I think a lot of people are discussing it online, you know, whether they're hobby resolutions or whatever's. And I know it's something we've all talked about between ourselves quite a lot. And for me, I'm in a real, as we'll talk about later, I just don't really know where I'm going with stuff. But both of these picks for this week for me were sort of, do you know what? If that's how I was to hobby, I think I'd be happy. So one was sort of the very sweet, very gentle, very just happy little scenes from, you know, my favourite book, against this, which is just mad shit for in the sort of vaguely in the Warhammer setting. But this account is right out there with their take on stuff, and I like it a lot. So you saw this one as well, Rich?
Yeah, I followed them. Like you said, I think they're really good if you ever want something. We go through a lot of the same stuff. People do different variations of it, but they tend to fall into very sort of normal categories. Whereas, you know, I like every now and then when I'm endlessly scrolling, and something pops up and you're like, wow, that is mental. And this is one of the accounts that I get that little hobby buzz off in that way, because some of the stuff that they do is insane, but great.
Yeah. It really is, isn't it? There's lots of people, I've just noticed in the chat, lots of people loving that little Lord of the Rings diorama. It's really nice to see quite a few of you here as well. So people saying, it's the first time they'll be able to catch the stream. So we're really going to try, everyone, to sort of at least sort of a day in advance, if we can, put up when we're doing it, and, you know, let you know the times and the days. So yeah, it's really nice to see everyone here. Dear God, yep, that's the name of Dear God 3. Yeah. Well done, David. You get commission on that one. So yeah, good stuff.
We made
I think I've just looked at this model again more. I think, is that the referee from the Blood Bowl box?
I think
yeah,
so.
it must.
That's great. I don't know, you just spotted that. But yeah, there you go. There's my 2 picks. Quite different, but both just perfect hobby, as it were, for me.
Matt, did I do 2 picks? I think I did, didn't I?
You did 1. I think it was 1.
Everyone picking fucking 2 things.
Hey, look, it's New Year. It's just it's season 2, right? So
I forgot I sent one to Matt ages ago because it was so good. So
well, let's have a look at it. What's up next? Oh,
that's one of them.
I nearly stuck this in the paint cultists. So yeah, well done.
I picked this because it's his first bust. So that was pretty much the reason that I picked it. And I just thought, that's really cool. I think that, it's just nice to see people doing busts for the first time. And I mean, amazing job for a first bust, isn't it? And I think it's like, maybe it proves not to be like intimidated by changing scale and stuff like that. So it's really cool seeing people mix it up. So that's it.
Yeah, so great. Like I said, I almost put it in the paint cultist thing at the end, but I'm pretty sure we put one of James's on like last week or the last episode. That's the only reason I left it off. But it's a great bust as well, isn't it? It's one of those ones that's stuck over the last few years. You really enjoyed doing your one, didn't you? With that yellow you got on him.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. But yeah, I think it's just so cool seeing people try their first bust out. Like, just love people that mix it up. So.
Yeah, there's some nice comments actually I saw today on the bust painting video you did quite a while back now, probably 6 months or so ago on the channel. A few people would just sort of, so it's nice to see people checking that out again. You remember you did the sort of speed paint of the academic?
Oh yeah. I'd like to get around to slow paint one day, but we'll talk about that in our goals.
James is in the chat actually. Yeah, well done, mate. Lovely stuff. Right, what's up next, Matt?
Next up, this was my one. Oliver does some pretty crazy things, and they're always tiny. And I think he did this because it was the 20th anniversary or something of the first movie this month, or last month or something.
What is it?
And
I think it's this week.
It's Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
Ah,
Bloody
It's the
heathen.
castle.
Come on, man.
right, very good.
Lord of the Rings. Same thing.
Oh,
But yeah, he's just got it all going on, all the foliage in the resin, tiny little octopus.
Oh, look at the octopus.
Yeah, and
Tiny, it's bloody massive, that octopus.
yeah, so in scale it's a big, but yeah, it's just such a small little diorama type thing. I just thought it was really cool.
You're
Very
right.
cool.
It is really cool. I'm actually going to jot that down for an episode. Remember a few shows back, we had a couple where people had made the diorama in a picture frame.
Mm.
I wonder if we could do something with that later in the year. I think it's a nice sort of self-contained project, isn't it? But is
my pick?
Is it? Oh, okay, cool. So is this? So obviously, I didn't know it's Harry Potter. Sorry, my nerd credentials are awful. I get it now. There's the train, right?
That's where he says, "You shall not pass."
Gotcha. Chocolate frogs or something. I've watched the first movie once. Is this completely scratch built?
It's 3D printed.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Man, 3D print. It's just so much scope, isn't there, with that? There's going to be a lot of episodes, I think, on that this year. Certainly more than one. Oh, man, that's really cool. Yeah, very nice. Great pick, man. So what's this, Rich? You so reckon you've got some something in a picture frame, have you? Oh, wow.
A picture frame. Something slightly different.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, going back to what you were saying about hobbies sometimes just bring you joy.
Yeah.
I thought this was wicked. Like it's just little tower buildings in jars. And this Basia's Instagram, everything that they do is like literally in a jar. And I just thought it was the coolest thing. They give me very like Studio Ghibli Spirited Away vibe. Yeah. And yeah, I just think they're amazing because they're not big either. Like I should have put a photo in there with some of the scale in there, but those are not massive jars. They're only about kind of like that. So yeah, I just thought it was really, really fun. And it was something that I happened upon and went through. You find somebody and you're like, oh, this is good. And then you go through every kind of photo on their Instagram, like straight away, just because how good it is.
Yeah, I'm absolutely following this account now. So yeah,
it's just so cool. It's such a great idea that I've never seen done before. And, originality is pretty difficult to come by these days. So
sort of like
fair play.
A theme on ships in a bottle.
Yeah. I love the cloud in the middle one. Yeah. What an imaginative, like, original idea.
I think they've all just got resin in the bottom, so it's all just super easy to
Oh, that'd be the best resin pour, wouldn't it? I ain't getting any leaks.
Nope.
No.
Imagine getting it down the side of the glass, though.
Yeah. Well, you just put a stick in, wouldn't you? Or you'd put a piece of wire in.
It would run down it.
You'd run it down the wire, right?
It would run down the glass anyway, no problem.
But yeah, I'd love to know how they did it. Like, do they? Obviously, they don't paint them inside it, but like, do they just paint it on a plinth or on something, and then just imagine that sub assemblies? Imagine lowering that into the jar.
It looks like the hole's big enough to just pop it all straight down. So they have to build it like a little ship.
You wouldn't drop it from the.
Yeah, you drop it at height, mate. You wouldn't turn it upside down. You drop it at height for sure.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
brilliant. That's really cool, Rich. That's really nice, mate. That's all the accounts, guys, will be in the description once we finish the show. Once Matt sends me them over, basically. But yeah, go and give them a follow. The Spirited Away bathhouse is on the left. Oh, cool.
Defo.
It's big Ghibli vibes.
Yeah, that is the bathhouse. Cool.
Yeah.
That's really good, mate. Lovely stuff. Good picks. That's a nice start to the year.
Yeah, started strong. Not a marine in sight.
No, goodness me.
I know.
Was there even? Well, I suppose there was a G-dub, but it was a bit of an obscure one. Right, did we have a meme or not?
We do.
I have no idea what it is.
It's a banger.
Oh God! Right, here we go then. Here we go. Oh my God! I've only just noticed the hair on that Eldar as well.
Yeah.
That is,
Yes,
I'm so into that. That's so funny.
Yeah,
such a quality meme.
that's well done. Should we might as well touch very quickly then. Great to see Eldar getting their core troop reimagined. I think we said when the new edition of 40k dropped, whatever it was, 18 months ago, we sort of were hoping perhaps this time round books would get like an update for the core rather than a random character or whatever and I think we're starting to see that, aren't we? So
let's have some units, not one character. We don't want units.
But it's also, isn't it? It's and we've said this again like a ton of times. It's once you bring the core up to look comparable to all the other great stuff that's inevitably come out in the 10 plus years since they got their kit, it just can change as an entire army project.
Oh yeah,
you go from I would go from not wanting to even entertain doing that army to all of a sudden, if your core models look great, it's completely different, isn't it?
I mean, it tends to be the thing that you spend most of your time painting. If you're looking for a gaming army, you tend to have more core than anything else.
I assume so, right? But I don't know how it works now. I mean, like I remember going into some tournaments over the last few years before all the pandemic and everything, and it was a bizarre looking tables. You know, they didn't look like the back of a White Dwarf army. Like they were like 4 planes, a Primarch, and something else.
Need 1 HQ 2 troop choices anymore. Really.
Right.
I'm still playing third ed.
Magnus, Mortarion, done. That's my favourite army I've seen. Magnus, Mortarion, and a Lord of Change or something.
That's a very good point, Elliot, in the chat. Matt, is that Inquisitor slide in there or not?
I can quickly get it.
If you could, that would be amazing, because I don't want to forget that one. I do think that's pretty worth a sort of shout.
So anyone else excited for New Eldar than me?
Yes, very much so.
I mean, it's just nice to see him getting a redo, right?
And not Primaris.
I think it's you've got the Eldar have been there as long as the Marines have. You know, them, the Orcs and the Marines. So it was they were lagging behind a bit, weren't they, after the recent Orc release?
Yeah. So everyone can see the Inquisitor, but I just can't put it up for us very quickly.
No worries. Cool. So yeah, I just thought this only dropped, I think, yesterday, maybe. It's one of these store birthday models. But the reason I wanted to shout about it particularly was I thought the paint job was fucking great on it. Like really, really good.
Yeah.
I mean, the model's cool too. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm a big.
It's the first one I've wanted that's like a store model, like anniversary, not a reposed Primaris. No Stormcast, no Primaris, please.
No more.
This is fantastic.
But I assume the Eldar have been well received. I imagine they have. Like,
I would have thought so. So far, they've been brilliant. So far,
I hope it's relentless. I hope we just like I was obviously really excited to see the box, like with the Rangers, but I didn't think they'd show something as big as like a Guardian box set after that. You're like, okay, cool. So we'll get some more Eldar. Maybe February they'll show some. And then he went, here's some Guardian. And that was a real surprise. So that was amazing. I don't want them.
We've still got the Dark Reapers to go as well.
How do you know we got
that? Somebody said we've seen a sneak peek of Magan Ra.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's right. Well, look, I'm sure next show or the one after we will have a big Eldar extravaganza.
It's the Avatar I want to see.
You know,
they showed the Avatar in that video and more.
Right.
So he's fine, but it's the Avatar I want to see.
He was, if I remember the old background, like Ra was like an absolute badass. Like just straight up murderer, anything.
Well,
like full on superhero.
One of the sort of the fluff behind him is that he took on a whole tendril of Hive Fleet, something, Behemoth or whatever it was, and just like it's just me and billions of you, and I'm gonna win.
It's a good thing he's got AP4, isn't it?
That's a dude.
I've forgotten now. That's AP minus something crap.
James has said in the chat he feels like he ought to buy a kit to support the release because he doesn't want Eldar to go another 20 years without a release or whatever. They have to sell. It's interesting that now, isn't it? Because I feel like that's changed to a degree. The speed that they can go from concept to production and release and the flexibility they have, you know, I feel like that might not be such an issue anymore. And the flip side is well, if Eldar don't get anything for 10 years, it's not looking like you'll have a bad range to play with for 10 years, you know? Like, no. I do wonder when maybe we should talk about this in another show, but when the sort of change came, when we really flipped into these new kits, and how long we think they'll sort of last before they start to look a little outdated. Because there's got to be a peak, hasn't there, with the design and the production of them. There's only so much you can do.
The glow up percentage has got to lower. so like the Guardians, the design is the same, but the quality's gone up. How much better can the quality get?
That's it, right?
When are they going to redo Battle Sisters? Like, you know,
yes, that's it, right?
I just don't really see how. It's that I think the kits will last even longer because it's got to a point now where, I mean, well, looking at Eldar, looking at the Viper and the Falcon, which I don't think will get redone, unfortunately, but they were made traditionally, right?
Yeah.
So they were handmade out of green stuff and balsa wood, I think. I can't find that picture of the Falcon where it's
I still remember that White Dwarf.
It's in the White Dwarf. I was looking at it the other day.
I need to find it because it's so cool. But just, you know, that was handmade. Obviously, once you've redone that design in CAD, it will last for so long.
I think also you're going to have more longevity with these models in the molds as well. Like the materials they're making the molds out of is totally different to 10 years ago, because the old Guardian kit, it's not too bad, but like you can see like when from like the first injection was done to where it is now, you can see the molds are getting a bit rounded over, the details are fudging a little bit, but you might see a bit more longevity out of them as well.
Also with the files, like now they've, you know, the Guardians presumably were handmade, and now they must have a CAD file with these Guardians. And surely if they really need, do they need a refresh ever? Do you just change it a bit, like, you know?
Well, is that not what they've done with the Tau recently? I don't follow 40K massively, but you're right. But that to have created that would have been as simple as pull up the thingy one and CAD the bits in.
Pathfinders with new
right?
That killed
that's really cool. That I think that they're able. I get the argument that it's just an add-on kit. Like, why couldn't we get something completely fresh? But surely it's actually the difference between getting fuck all for years.
Yeah, agree.
And getting something pretty cool.
Well, that's the shame of the Acadians, isn't it? Because if in like 10 years they give the Guardians an extra sprue that you stick on the top, some different lids or whatever, because that's how you could do Dire Avengers, right? You do a sprue with the plumy heads and you just clip on some different guns and the whatever crotch cloths. Whereas, you know, the Acadians, they're just too old. They needed more than just a sprue. But stuff like these Guardians, for sure, like an extra sprue would make such a difference.
Yeah, because there's too much like a difference between the old Cadian plastic and the new sprue. Like there's so much of a gap between there, it wouldn't work. Whereas if, for instance, you had, I don't know, I'm going to say it, but a new Primaris Marine box, and you just got like intercessors and then a sprue that was just Space Wolf bits, or that was just Imperial Fist bits, whatever, then that would work because they're all newer kits. But I think you need to have all the older kits up to a certain level before you start doing that. And like Andy said earlier, the list of kits that aren't getting updated is getting smaller and smaller by the day. There's only a few, and some of them might even be discontinued and go into the, you know, the realm of past where they're not even a real thing anymore. But up until that, I think, they're killing it at the moment and creating some great stuff.
Do you think, because I don't think they will, but what do you think about them redoing the Viper and Falcon? Do you think they will? No, I don't.
No, I don't. I think it's a shame they don't, but I guess it's priorities, right? Like, I'd be more disappointed if you didn't get new Aspect Warriors.
Agree.
You know, but I don't think we're going to get every Aspect Warrior.
No.
See, something like that would annoy me more if there's like But I understand. Before I say this, I completely understand why they do it from a business perspective, but only doing the popular stuff. So like the popular aspect warriors, and if they redid like 3 of them, and then there was like 2 or 3 of them that they didn't do, like that would annoy the shit out of me.
Yeah,
because
agreed.
It just doesn't make sense.
I don't like some of them.
So wait another 15 years.
Yeah.
I'd rather
but I don't think we're going to get these long waits. I really don't. The fact that the release schedule from Games Workshop seems to be on a 3-year cycle now, as opposed to a 4-year, and the fact that you have these sort of, I don't know what to call them, but you have things like Kill Team, right? You have ways to bring in new kits without needing a whole release. And ultimately, surely they're going to run out of one-off characters to figure out and make soon, right? And just jam into
lieutenants.
You say that.
Yeah, they'll just switch it to Sisters of Battle, and it'll just be every like 3 weeks there'll be a new Sisters of Battle. I don't know.
I could live with that, mate. I could live with that. Give me priests too. Give me Munitoran priests. We haven't got any of them, I don't think. Yeah, big time. Right, enough. This is a whole other chat. I think that probably would be quite interesting to have. So
trying to keep talking about Eldar as long as possible.
Yeah, right. Main topic for tonight. Goal setting. The reason we wanted to have a chat about this is, as I say, I'm sure if you're online at all with the hobby, you'll have seen people putting up their like what they want to do this year, resolutions. You'll have various groups will be doing their like monthly challenge thing, all that side of it, and podcasts will be whittering on about what they want to do and stuff. And what we thought we'd try and do is take a slightly more holistic sort of view of the idea of goal setting, and just break it down a little bit into sort of why goal set. What's the point of it? What types of goals could you set yourself that would help you enjoy your hobby more, as opposed to just paint this unit this month, got to paint this army, whatever. There's a whole sort of, we think there's a little bit more around it, and sort of reference some of our personal experiences with it. We've all been in this hobby a long time now, and we're all gamed, painted for competitions, all of it. So I think we've got a fairly broad set of experience to draw from. And I even went away and attempted to read a couple of psychology papers on goal setting and the importance of. So I'll kick it off with Locke and Latham's 1990 paper, A Theory of Goal Setting and Task Performance. Right. There's 5 goal-setting principles that can improve your chances of success: clarity, challenge, commitment, feedback, and task complexity. What I thought we might do is break those down and sort of have a chat and see how we think we could maybe relate those to our hobby and what we're doing with it. The guys have no idea about this, so they're coming in pretty cold. So that hopefully we'll get some interesting takes. So clarity. Clarity. It is important when it comes to goals. Setting goals that are clear and specific eliminates the confusion that occurs when a goal is set in a more generic manner. Discuss. So this to me is breaking it down into what really matters to you with the hobby. I want to paint a new army. Okay, why? Why do you want to paint that new army? What is the real reason for doing it? I know, Rich, I think you're in a similar position to me. Very, very sort of directionless at the moment with hobby. I've really been trying to break down what it is I want to get from this hobby. It's a little bit different when you do it for work, but from a personal point of view, it's what really does matter to you. So yeah, take it away. What are you working on at the minute, Rich? How do you think this applies to what you're doing?
So I think for me, even over the last year, last year, I was like, I want to play, I want a game, I want a game, I want a game. But that's all I said. I want a game. Okay, there's X amount of games out there. There's X amount of things that you can do to game. I didn't think I was necessarily specific enough about what I wanted to do. So like, do I want to play AOS? Do I want to play 40k? Do I want to play whatever it is? I should have, in hindsight, I should have just said, I want to play 40k or I want to play AOS. Whereas because I didn't know and I said I just wanted to play, I was kind of pulled left and right by other people being like, oh, well, we're doing AOS. Okay, cool, I'll do that. So I did that for a while. Then that petered out. Oh, we're doing 40k. Okay, cool. I'll do 40k. And then that petered out a little bit. Whereas, over the year, I got a lot of painting done, but I didn't get anything to like that level of completion that I wanted it to. In that, I played a few games last year, which was great. And I got some armies to a good level of points. But rather than, I don't know, maybe it's just me, I would rather have one army up to like 2k that I really liked than sort of 3 half-finished ones, which is kind of where I ended up.
Cool. Okay.
For me,
no, go on, carry on. But
I was just saying, for me, being specific about what I want to do. So at the moment, it's I want to play kill. Okay, so I love the idea of kill team. So I was like, right, let's get into kill team. I played, but instead of doing it the normal way of beating around it for ages, me and my buddy John, we entered into a kill team tournament in March. I don't even know how to play it yet. I had my first couple of the other day, but I thought, fuck it. As a way to keep me on track and to make sure that I do it, I'm going to enter a tournament. I've never even entered a tournament before. I might hate it, but just as a way of measuring the fact that I know I've got to do it by putting a date in the diary that says I will learn kill team by this point, have my army done by this point, and be ready to play. So at the moment, it's all kill team. But the games that I played the other day, I absolutely loved. I thought it was brilliant. Some of the best gaming I've ever had. For me, it sits perfectly in between Underworlds and 40k, like that sort of size. That skirmish level is brilliant. So all this week, I've been painting scenery like a mad bastard because I want to every week play kill team. It gave me really good focus to stick to that goal and say, right, I'm always saying I want to play, but this year I want to play a kill team.
I think that's good that you've set that short deadline as well. I'm going to paraphrase. There was something else I was reading today about when it came to goals and actually how you're far more motivated in the present than you are about something you might get in the future. And what you have to try and do with your goals is marry those things together. It says something along the lines of you put your effort that you're doing now, you need to imagine it in the future, and the result of the future you need to imagine happening now. So I think that shorter deadline means you can keep that intensity sort of and passion up. What I wanted to talk to you about that you mentioned a minute ago, I think one of the reasons that goals can be a useful tool is that accountability element. So we called the episode, failure is an option. If you have goals and you have them written down, even if you don't achieve them, then you will hopefully at least be able to then examine why you didn't and look at, okay, what can I adjust and how can I get more? Because me and Andy were saying the other day, it's the vast majority of people in this hobby, they're time poor, right? Most of us, if we were brutally honest, we can find a way to afford the models and the paints that we want to the hobby. What we haven't got is all the time in the world to get all these ideas out of our heads and do it. So having that a little bit more focus. So what do you think from last year, this sort of not hobby butterflying, because we tease you about that, but as you're saying, you were almost, when you said you played a bit of AOS here, then you played a bit, were you playing it with different groups of people?
A little bit. It wasn't necessarily play. I played AOS and really enjoyed it, but then within my local hobby group, which is an incredible group, there were some people that want to play AOS and some people that wanted to play 40k, and because I've got so many ideas and I'm Butterfly, I was like, oh fuck it, I'll do all of it. So I didn't everyone else is pretty good at sticking to their guns and be like, oh no, I'm doing 40k, and the other one else like, no, I'm doing AOS. Whereas I'm the idiot in the middle going, no, I'll do AOS, yeah, I'll do 40k. Oh no, kill team, yep, great, let's do some Underworlds. The Butterfly really kind of comes out when I do that. So I don't know, it's hard, isn't it? Because I get so excited, like you said, a lot of people are time poor. But I think the thing that's changed for me now is that that's helped is I've become more time poor in a weird kind of way. Before I had loads of time to hobby.
Right?
I had shitloads of time to hobby, and it just made things impossible because I had the time to dedicate to stuff and go, oh, I'll spend 2 afternoons doing this. Fuck it, because I was hobbying every day basically. I was going, oh well, we'll try this, and if it's a couple of days, it doesn't really matter. And I'd spend 4 or 5 days on something, and it didn't work out. I was like, okay, never mind. And then it went on the shelf of shame and I didn't worry about it again. But at the moment, I have got not a lot of time. So I'm going, I've got to pick one. So for me, for once, it's actually really easy Because for me, I won a game. I've actually got a few kill teams that I've painted over the years. I've got multiple different ones, and all I have to pay for is the scenery. So I'm going to be playing kill team in a week and a half's time on a fully painted board with 2 fully painted kill teams. That was the goal, and I'm doing it already. So having less time for me has been really helpful because I don't have time to worry about flying because I just have to focus on what I'm doing if I want to get anything done.
Yeah, that's really interesting, mate. I wonder if you could. Wonder if there's something in it where to get more done, you actually reduced your hobby time.
Yeah,
you know,
I think so because I found recently because I don't get as much hobby time, it's a lot more precious. So I want to really achieve something with it. So the idea of I don't want to waste time picking up a random model and doing it. If it's a separate little project, right, I'm gonna spend a day on this. This is fun. I'll do that still. But
that's not factored in, though, is it? Like that's not a goal, right? That's just pure.
No.
You know, and I don't want this conversation to like. I don't want to sterilize the hobby. Like the hobby is so many different things to different people, and I think one of the things I wanted to try and get out of the whole discussion was that goal setting is great for some people. And for other people, like it's not. Like you're going to have all this frustration and negativity from it because you perceive you're not matching these goals that other people are doing, right?
Yeah, but on that, I really thought I fell into that category that you just said of because I used to butterfly over place. I used to follow the fun. So if that was fun, I'd do this. If that was fun, I'd do that. And I completely agree. For some people, that's the best way for them to hobby because that's the way that they enjoy it, and I get it. And I thought I was one of those people, but because I've kind of had to force myself to try it the other way. I'd never tried it the other way before. I'm actually getting more enjoyment out of it now. And I didn't necessarily think that would be the case because I was like, oh, I'm a hobby butterfly. I won't find it enjoyable to be like, no, do this, this, and this. Whereas actually now that I'm doing this, this, and this, and sticking to the fact I want to play kill team, like I hate painting scenery, really. I like the idea of it, but actually the base coating, all that shit is terrible.
Right.
But I just spent a day doing it and I hated it at the time. But now I've just put all the effects and the moss and stuff all over this building. It's one of my favorite things I've ever done. And I only got to that point because I forced myself to no, let's actually get this bit done. Then the fun stuff comes after. So like, I want to my goal this year is I want to play games. I really want to play kill team and get into it in a massive way and go to tournaments and stuff. But at the same time, as a separate hobby, that's like kind of for me, it works short-term goal and a long-term goal. My long-term goal is for this year. I want to paint the best Thousand Suns army anyone's ever seen.
All right, cool.
So that's my long-term goal.
And that's like as army, right? It's not kill team, that's army, right?
No, that's an army. Literally like 1,500 points.
Yeah.
Of 1,000 Suns, and I want to do the best 1,000 Suns army that there is.
Nice.
So I've got that as my long-term one, which I can chip away at. But then short-term, let's play some kill team.
So with that short-term, okay, so taking those two projects then, within those two larger goals.
Yeah.
And this I think is something. Hang on, let me refer to my notes. Task complexity. It's important to set tasks that are aligned with the goal's complexity. Are you breaking those things down into sort of specific tasks that you want to achieve? Or are you just going, great, gloves are off, kill team, I'll just do whatever the fuck I want as long as it is to do with kill team?
No, I mean, eventually, yes. But for me, the enjoyment from kill team playing involves playing a game in a really immersive board so that I forget that I'm playing a game and I'm that guy stood in that ruin shooting at the bloke over there. So for me, the first bit of that was I've got to get a kill team board that I really want to play on. So I did think I didn't just go, right, kill team, I'll paint a bit of this kill team, a bit of this kill team, a bit of this kill team. I want to play kill team, but I want to play kill team in a good way on a good board. So number one, the priority was get the board done. Because once the board's done, then I can paint whatever kill team I want. I can play with one, I can paint one, whatever. Same with like the 1,000 Suns for me. With like in that long-term goal is I want to build the best or paint the best 1,000 Suns army that there is. But to start with, that's going to involve painting, like building it all. So
right,
I did a test model, and I was like, right, I've got to build it. So I built like the core group, and then it's like, right, I've painted a cool flashy sorcerer. Now I've got to go back and I've got to get the troops done. The 10 Rubric Marines we're going to do, or whatever it is. For me, it's about having a wider goal, but setting yourself more achievable short-term goals that you know, because I know how my brain works. If I've painted all of the fun stuff for the 1,000 Suns, so say I buy Araman, the Contemptor, and the Terminators, I do that first. I'm never doing the rest of it. So for me, setting myself specific goals around, say, like, right, I've got to paint the troops because that's the bit I'll get bored of because there's just 10 dudes that look identical. That for me is the important bit of setting yourself. You've got to set yourself small goals, but that only comes, I think, from knowing what you like as a painter or as a person. Right. Like, I know I will fuck off and do something else.
Well, okay, so that touches on another one of these 5 points, which is this idea of feedback. Yeah, and I think this is something that we see a lot of in one style in our hobby, which is the often unsolicited comments on social media, right?
Yeah.
And I suspect, Andy in particular, you probably get rather a lot of these comments on your beautiful display pieces, which I imagine aren't always the most helpful and the most useful.
Yeah, come out.
Right.
Captain Hindsight and the expert comes out.
But what I was thinking was with the feedback side of things is firstly what I'd say is just ignore that shit. You'll be infinitely happier, I think. Anyway, I know I am. But it's let me. These guys will word it better than I can. Feedback helps you know what you're doing right and how you're doing. This allows you to adjust your expectations and your plan of action going forwards. And Andy, something you've often talked about is this idea of managing expectations when you're working on a project. But you also have a few private clients or students, whatever you want to call them, right? Where a lot of the time you're spending with them is more to do with feedback, if I'm right, as opposed to teaching a specific skill, right? Yeah, and definitely. Actually, it can be hugely, sort of motivating. I mean, I've done a handful of with people where I've helped them sort of essentially project manage an army, sort of how to go again, putting it together and getting the scheme together and executing it across the army. And again, I think there's a lot more to feedback than just what's written in those comment sections. But also, it's what's the phrase? Is don't ask someone for their opinion if you wouldn't ask them for. I'll remember it later. But basically, ask people whose opinions you give a shit about for feedback. Don't worry about anyone else's, but possibly consider that there's more to do with feedback than simply have I got that red right, or does this cape look, what's this freehand like, or whatever. And I think you're saying there, Rich, is actually there's, if we tease you a lot, but actually you're getting feedback from your close hobby group more and more, right?
Yeah.
And actually, if you probably asked most of them a year ago, they could probably have shouted and said, yeah, what Rich needs to do is focus it down on a skirmish game. That has the hobby, that has the painting, the gaming, the modeling, the drinking beer.
Yeah.
That's what he really needs to sort of get his rocks off with.
Yeah, because I think having like a group of people that you really are close with and that will be really honest with you about feedback. Because for me, feedback has to be honest. If it's not, it's not feedback, and it has to. So, like Andy and Ben and a few of the other lads are really good with me in that. Yeah, they take the piss out of me for being a hobby butterfly, but then they know what to say and when to keep me sort of engaged in an idea. In that, like, if I put something in the group, they're like, yeah, that's cool. Whereas if I put something in the group, they're like, yeah, you need to do this because this is great. Because they know that I put loads of random shit in the group because I do random shit all the time. But there's a few bits where,
for the record.
Yeah, I know. And we put a really good picture in the group a while ago, and it was someone's army, it was an orc army, and it must have been like 40,000 points of orcs. And he just put Rich's army if he stuck to one thing.
Yeah.
That was actually really accurate. But no, the thing is, the people that I trust with my hobby, they know what I'm good at and what I'm not, and then so when I put the photo of the Thousand Suns in the group, Andy was like, "You got to do this because it ticks all the boxes. It's perfect. It's exactly my style. It's fun to paint, and it looks great, and it's Marines, which is what I want to paint all the time anyway." So they notice when I'm onto a winner, and then they push me towards that one rather than actually they'll know if I'm onto a dud, and they'll kind of say it, not like don't do that, you won't do it. They'll kind of be like, well, that was good, the other thing you were doing, or this might be difficult for you in a while, because they know what I'm like. So I think you get what I'm trying to say about having that group around you that will
absolutely
steer you if you are to go astray.
Absolutely. And I also think you said in there this idea of, and I think it's something I'm coming to terms with, is what's this obsession with painting armies? What do I just need to sort of turn around and go, I'm not, that's not where I am at the minute. I'm not I've done why do I need to paint an army?
So, Andy, jump in on that one, because that was literally what you were saying the other day.
What about the Eldar?
Well, just how realistic it is.
Well, because when the Guardians come out, my phone was like, 50 messages. Look, Guardians. And I was like, they're brilliant. I love them. And everyone's like, you're doing an Eldar army. You're doing an Eldar army. And I'm not, because I'm being realistic now. I feel very wise this year. I'm getting old, hobby experienced, and I feel very wise. And everyone was saying you do an Eldar army, and I'm not, because I've been trying to do armies that are easier to paint than Eldar, like Tau, Chaos, and I failed on those. So being realistic, I'm not going to do Eldar, and I have an even higher standard that I would want if I did Eldar. That is 100% unachievable for my situation right now. However, a cool thing I thought is what do I like, and it's cool models on a plinth. So I'll just paint every Eldar model I like and do one on a plinth. So Striking Scorpions, I love them. Would I like an army that has a unit of 10 Striking Scorpions and Quran dress? Yes, that would be fabulous. Will I do it? No. But one Striking Scorpion, painted to my best ability, on a plinth, I'll get an absolute buzz off of that. And I'll actually collect them like, this isn't for competition. This isn't for an army. I love Eldar. I want them to look pretty on a plinth, and I won't sell them or anything like that. So that was nice. And but at the same time, I do think this year I want a 40k army, and I have 2 I've started, and it will be one of those. I won't pick a new lane. So I've got my Tau fully built. I've got my Chaos army fully built, and building's the thing I hate the most. So I do have 2 armies I still love, even though I built them, months ago, whatever. But I still have them. They're built, they're ready for the right time. So I do feel quite clear that this year I will approach one of those armies. And what I've worked out is, I fail, I think, because they're too complex. And I think I'm going to do a video for Cult at some point where I do a Tau scheme and simplify it and kind of say I failed this army before because I came up with this brilliant scheme, but it had all these steps. And at the moment, I'm messing around with some colors, and I'm not ready to start my Tau yet, but I'm just mentally thinking, spraying some random colors and going, that's a better color. Just trying to make it so it's actually possible for me.
That goes back to like what we said about like the title is that it's okay to fail. You've identified that, cool, I was doing this Tau army, it didn't work for me, let's go back and do it again. So with my Thousandsons for this year, I would normally airbrush the hell out of an army, but I can't stand blacking in. Once you've airbrushed it, then going back in and blacking in all the details I fucking hate it. So my Thousandsons don't use an airbrush. I just rattle can it, and I've been really enjoying just sitting of an evening for a couple of hours with a paint palette and a paintbrush and just doing that. And my Marines are sprayed black, and the whole thing's just painted up from black.
I think it also comes, what Andy was saying, it comes back to that fifth point, that task complexity idea of, your tasks need to be aligned with the goal's complexity. And even when we speak about our army painting, right, and that's something we're quite passionate about. I'm very passionate about. It's the thing I really enjoy teaching, if you want to call it teaching, but sort of, a lot of the classes and the tutorials I focus on are this idea of army painting doesn't need to be a dirty word, right? Painting a good looking army there's a real skill to it, right?
Unbelievable skill.
But it as a goal, I think is actually very complex.
Yeah.
It's even Marines, right? Even, Marine 1 and Marine 50
just volume of the
are
same
very similar, right? But they have complexities to them. You know, there are so this notion of, oh, I have a Marine army. Well, I can paint them all to a higher standard, or I have a Tau army, like I said, I'm going to paint them all to this level. So this level of complexity, because I've picked relatively quote unquote simple models, right?
Yep.
Actually, it's not as simple as that, is it? And this idea of keeping the intensity up of a project, that constant positive feedback loop of achieving something within a 1 or 2 sessions, right, to keep you going, keep you going, whatever your motivator is, whether that's firing it up on Instagram, whether that's showing your mates, whether that's just looking at it in your cabinet, you know, whatever it is that keeps you going. And I think that's it. You need to revisit and go, right, are these tasks that are going to get me to this goal, do they align with how complex it is?
Definitely. That's what I've been thinking about, for sure.
Right. And so I wanted to talk to you, Andy, a bit more. We can come back to the army stuff by all means, but there's 2 things within this 5-step thing, this challenging goals and commitment. And when I was reading it through, I felt like certainly the commitment thing, I think, is an interesting one. When if we go back a couple of years, right, when you were really, so basically before the pandemic, right? So before the pandemic hit, the previous 12 months painting shows, painting competitions that have been going on around the world. And Matt, you can vouch for this and pick me up. You know, Andy, you were right up there. You know, before all this happened, you were one of the winningest painters in that previous 12 months, weren't you?
Oh, there and stuff.
Right, but there's no need to be sort of modest about it. You know, you were entering the largest competitions and you were coming away with the highest accolades from them, right? In that previous 12 months, there must be like, you know, Rich gets bored painting a Marine, like, and that's all well and good. You have a finite amount of time, right, that you can paint a model for a competition. And I don't just mean as in you have work and social life or whatever, but I mean as in you have a very, very hard deadline. And that deadline isn't really up until the night before, is it? You know, you'll know a month out if you're going to hit it or not. The commitment side of it, how are you finding that commitment? Where are you? And I know this might be having to go back a little way now because it has been nearly 2 years or whatever since, but I know you're just starting your road to Golden Demon, which you're covering over on the Patreon. Where are you getting that commitment from? What's how is that affecting your goal?
I love it. I'm getting a real buzz at the moment because I've got a deadline and a reason to like crack on with it. And I definitely I think the start of 2020, when I had more time than ever to paint and I was rubbish, just like Rich said, you know, I had more time than ever and I was not good. Mostly, I think, because I was in a negative headspace because we had to stay in our house and we didn't know what was going on. So it was really, really bizarre psychological time to have the most time to hobby and not being able to do it because you're annoyed about other stuff. But yeah, at the moment, it's like we've had 2 years of no competitions. Got a little bit of an injection of buzz from Salute, which was really good to do. And I just can't wait for Golden Demon. It's, you know, I love gaming and stuff, but I think my favorite side of the hobby is Golden Demon, and we're getting it back. And, you know, we've got 3 months left. I'm well into a piece, which I'll show on the day. Sorry, people, not yet. And I'm really happy that I'm just going to put 3 months every hour I've got into just that. And I think that, you know, I'm really into that. And I'm almost, you know, separating the year with that. So I'm going to just go everything into Golden Demon, my favorite thing that I'm really passionate about. And then we'll get Golden Demon done and I'll totally chill. And I hope that I can airbrush and sponge some Tau, you know, and I think I'm really happy to have that goal that's about 3 months, which is enough time to do my best. Any longer and you could procrastinate and things like that, but I can really just focus in that time. And it's nice, like we're talking about short and long-term goals, I'm quite happy that there is that real deadline and I'll just do that. And I know I can't afford to spend time doing other stuff. I have to put every minute into that. And that's nice. That pressure's actually nice. And I'll totally chill as soon as that competition's over. And yeah, so I quite like that. And I think I'm just really happy to have, hopefully, the full competition circuit back. I really hope that this year we get the full circuit, which for me would be Golden Demon, World Model Expo, Monty, those 3 competitions. If we do them this year, it'd be amazing.
Do you think with the Golden Demon, do you think because there's only kind of that one that's helping you, do you think, to stay focused on it? Because remember a few years ago when we were entering every Golden Demon because there was one every like 2 or 3 months?
Oh God, one is so good for your head. So good. Because I know that also, like, I want to paint some stuff that's not Games Workshop at the moment, but I'll save that. I'll just paint Golden Demon, Games Workshop, super focus for 3 months. And I'm really into that. And I will get sick of it at points. And that'll be in all the diaries that we do for Patreon. But I'll be really honest about how sick I am of it. But at the same time, I'm so motivated, especially after a 2-year break. But I have learned how much of a buzz I get off of entering. I do, I know how much I'll enjoy it. I know every time I regret not putting 100% into it. And I've done it enough times to know that'll cheese me off. So just going to go 100% in. I'll probably burn myself out. And then I'll just do something mega chill. And in the meantime, I'll brew in my head, what's my army project going to be when I get back from Golden Demon? Is it going to be Chaos? Is it going to be Tau? And that's cool to chill and think on that in the meantime. So, yeah, looking forward to it.
So you think it's I love listening to you talk about that, and especially that intensity. And as I said, that was something I was reading in that paper, the importance of intensity to keep you on track for the goal. What is it the deadline then that is giving you that commitment, or is it almost that, as you say, it's knowing that you only have to be super? I kind of know the answer because you and me chat about this, but it's the notion of going, right, I've got to be super intense for 3 months and then I can just chill. Like, is that what keeps you committed to it?
I think
because there's a hard, that night I can go out on the rip. I haven't got to worry about things. It's done.
Yeah, and also I think the fact that it's really a hard competition. Like, Golden Demon is hard. There's 3 awards per category. It's solid. So if I'm not all in, I haven't got a chance. But that's quite nice because you have to be like, almost not casual. And for my head and how my head works and where I get my buzz, that works. And some people might not enjoy that at all. But I'm like, I think Matt texted me the other day, like, 73 days to go. And I was like, you bastard, are you serious? I was like, I think I ran to my hobby room and started gluing. I was like, 73 days. But that's cool. I'm literally planning when I've got to get minis done by now. I'm like, right, I've got to get that done by this date and that by that. But I'm into that. Keeps you honest. And instead of being like, should I play some Turok 2 tonight? I've completed that now, by the way. Okay. I literally didn't buy an Xbox because I wanted an Xbox because I'm like, I can't. I've got to go on Demon, and that's great. That saved me like 600 quid. But yeah, I like the commitment. It works for my head, and I like a schedule, and I like the pressure because definitely I can't waste time just watching telly and doing stuff. Like, if I've got free time, I've got to work on Golden Demon.
Nice.
But
nice.
Although I'm not in that same, because I'm not really into comp painting anymore. But again, setting yourself a date for stuff, I think just works really well. Because like you said, that odd evening where you're, oh, fuck it, I can't be arsed, I'm just going to watch The Witcher for the 3rd time or whatever it is. That time adds up. Those couple of hours, they really add up. If you've got a project that you want to achieve something, you can get so much, and especially if it's if you're clever with what you do in those days. So you're right, I can't be fucked to do any detail painting, so I don't even pick up the brush and the palette. I go, right, I'll build some scenery, or I'll do a bit of milliputting, or I'll look at some reference artwork for the
I've got a great one for you, right? Today I had half hour between some lessons, was like, what do I do with half an hour? That is a useless bit of time. What can I do with it? And what I did was I've been thinking about some colour schemes, and I sprayed 2 colours, and I went, I love this one. I'll spray it a bit more. And I went, that's fantastic colour. And that was the best use of half hour I've had in ages, because I've almost tested a colour, and I'll let it sit there and I'll keep checking it and go, yeah, that is the right colour. And it's for something I'm not going to paint for a while. But that was such a good half hour for me, because I just literally sprayed a colour down through the airbrush, clean my airbrush out, let it dry, and then I'll sit and I'll leave that on the desk and mull on that colour scheme for a while. So yeah, it's good to have deadlines, so you don't waste time. I think a lot of it has been, we've talked about, is not wasting time.
Well, yeah. So with the time wasting thing, or how not to waste time then, and I get it. Some people are just going to be, I paint models to be artistic, and I want to chill, and I just want to surround myself with a mess and paint whatever I feel like this evening, and that's wicked. That's just not necessarily what this episode is about. One of the things that can kill you, right, is as you said, when you've got a limited amount of hobby time, what you don't really want to be doing is getting to your desk and having to think about what you're going to do.
Oh yeah,
right? Because that's can kill it. So there comes that point where, so we've got our goals and we've got our tasks within those goals. Then surely there is actually value in getting those written down, and you see people complete these Taylor Gamer challenges on Facebook groups and the rest of that, and it's often the ones that document it, right? And it's often, and there was, so again, when I was reading around all of this stuff earlier, there's a study, they call it the Harvard study, and you don't know whether it was Harvard or whether it was Yale or it's other place, but let me get the numbers right and just pull it up in front of me. So it was the idea to how written and planned for goals are basically realized, are actualized, and the effect that they have. So they asked this group of students, have you set clear written goals for your future, and have you made plans to accomplish them, right? So like 3% of them had written them, 13% of them had some ideas but didn't have them in writing, and the rest of them didn't have any specific goals at all. 10 years later, supposedly they interview the same group of people. The 13% that had the goals but hadn't written them down were earning twice as much money as those that hadn't got any goals, right? So, okay, cool, that's cool. Writing it down makes, having the goals is a good start. The 3% that had written the goals down and how they were going to go about achieving them were earning 10 times the amount that the ones who had written it that hadn't, or had the idea but hadn't written it, or hadn't bothered at all. So, whether or not that's, factually correct and all the rest of it, I definitely think, even if you're not necessarily that type of person in your day-to-day life, I know I'm not, right? I'm becoming more because we own a business, but I think there is huge value in having stuff written down to hold yourself accountable to, right? But also to mean, like you said then, Andy, right, I've got 30 minutes, right? What can I do? Let's have a look on the list. Right, what needs doing? How am I going to get? Maybe I can break that task down into 2 parts, and I'll do that part now. But there's no wasted energy, And I'm not saying when you getting something wrong isn't wasted energy, as long as you can sort of assess, talk to someone, understand why it went wrong, and move on. But it's that procrastination. It's avoiding procrastination, isn't it? And actually, there's an element of discipline, but you don't have to be super dry. I'm not saying we need Matt's 45-page spreadsheets, but maybe that does work though, right? And I know there was a thing a few years ago, I think they're called Kanban boards, which as far as I know are just like a bunch of columns where you move a project from, like, okay, this column is build, this column is base prime, this column is base coat, highlight, whatever, and you would just move your projects along so you could glance up at it and go, right, okay, where does that, okay, I need to get that one to the next step. But it just eliminates that wasted time, doesn't it? And helps you move towards it. Now, I'm not saying it's the answer, but it's definitely something I'm considering trying to implement.
So I've tried that before, writing down like a piece of paper on the wall in front of me and go, right, I'm doing this. But for me, it didn't work But what did work as a variation for me is that I would write it down in a conversation with somebody, and then that would hold me accountable to it. So I've got various different hobbyists, like my man Draz in Australia, like we'll talk every day about stuff, and we just at the start of the week, it's like, oh, what are you doing today, or what are you doing this week, or what are you doing hobby-wise this week? And me and him will both be hobbying, and he's like, oh, I want to get this done by the end of this week. And we're both really good at pulling each other up on it. So at the end of the week, I go, oh, did you get that unit done? He's like, yeah, sick, check it out. And whereas I'm like, and he'll say to me, oh, if I'm dallying, he'll pull me up and like, when you're getting back to that 1,000 Sun Sorcerer, I'm like, yeah, too right, I will. I need to do that, and then I will, and then I'll show it to them, and then he's like, sick, that looks amazing. You know, I found I cop out too easily, and that I'll lie to myself and be like, oh fuck it doesn't matter if I've written it down, I don't have to do it. Right. So I have to hold myself accountable with other people because like
external accountability.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck. Like I'm all over the place when it comes to like my drive for hobby. So I never worry about it because I know how. But like with John, my mate who I'm going to the Kill Team event with, it was like, well, this is a date, it's booked, we've got to go. So let's get that finished. Or like, oh, we're going to play Kill Team for our first Wizards Club on a Friday that we do every week in 2 weeks' time. So I've got to get this scenery done for that because I don't want to let them down.
Yeah, I like that. That resonates with me, definitely. You know, the one big project I achieved last year, the sort of 1,000 points of Crawl Boys, that only got finished because I was going up to Warhammer World with some friends and we were going to play a game, right? And as it was, that's my best hobby memory of last year. You know,
and you don't want to be that guy with the army that you didn't quite get finished because you couldn't quite be asked.
Mate, I played an army and they hadn't glued the models to the bases once. I was fuming.
That's an automatic victory for you, though, isn't it?
Not back then, mate. I had to watch him pick the model off the base, move the base to the tape measure, and then put the model lying down back on the base. And I was like, this game is over. That's a hard finish. I was like, nah.
It is. Well, yes, it is.
I think we've sort of veered into it anyway. But I feel like that's maybe enough for the bigger picture conversation. I think it's quite exciting, genuinely. You know, I think there's a lot of psychology we can pull things from, and again, the whole point of basically everything we do with Cult is to just enjoy your hobby more. You know, it's whatever that is for you. It doesn't mean you've got to be a better painter, just got to enjoy painting more, right? Maybe that's getting better, maybe it's just, you know, being more efficient, whatever. But we may as well do what everyone else is doing, right? But keep it succinct. What are your goals? We sort of know Rich's, right? Kill Team and long-term 1,000 Suns, right?
Yeah.
Because we'll revisit this in 12 months.
Yeah.
And we will see, we may even revisit it sooner, and we'll see where we're going.
But this thing, if we say we're going to visit it sooner, I'll definitely stick to it because I don't want to let anyone down.
There we are. You can't let down your people, Rich. Andy, what do you have any set goals for this year? It sounds like you've definitely got a set goal for the first 3 months.
Got 2.
Right.
Enter Golden Demon with something I'm proud of. It's the important thing. It's not win. It's enter something I'm proud of. Sometimes I'm not. So I want to do something that's different for me. I really like it. Whatever. That's what I get a buzz off. If I've done a good job. So I'm going to try and bring my A game and then cut off that after it's done. And then I think my second goal, which I think is harder for me, is to finish an army I've started to a small amount. So I've got 3 armies in whip at the moment. Got to finish one of them.
So that's the Lumineth, Chaos and Tau?
Correct.
Right. Let us know in the chat. I mean, obviously, we know what Martin's going to want, but see what anyone else in the chat, what you'd actually like to see Andy finish. Not that it will have the remotest bit of impact on him, but you never know.
Yeah.
It's all good.
But all bear in mind, I've got an AOS army, 2,000 points, painted very nicely.
Mm-hmm. You've got to do a 40k one. You've got to do a 40k one.
Even though the rules are terrible, a 40k one would be nice. But I could always play some second ed or something great.
Yes.
Play some proper rules.
Now we're talking. Matt, what about yourself? I know I haven't really asked you any questions, but I feel like Andy and Rich have been sort of somewhat on fire with this one. What about yourself for this year?
I've only got 2. Finish my Iron Skull entry and finish my GD entry and be happy with them. Because I've
happy, not perfect.
Happy with them,
not perfect.
Thing, isn't it, Matt? Like happy with your input, and that's how I feel about mine. Is I want to just feel happy with it.
Yeah.
That's why like the dedication's key, isn't it? Because I've done it entered with some sloppy ass crap, and then you're really unsatisfied. So be happy.
I painted a few things in sort of 2020. I didn't paint a single model basically. Completely lost all hobby mojo. Didn't do anything. Procrastinated the procrastination.
From a painting point of view, though, dude, like don't put yourself down. Like you've turned into a serious like art collector this year. You ran an incredibly successful Kickstarter with a beautiful book. You know, there's much more to the hobby than just painting, right, dude? You
did something big for the community.
You know, don't
very big
put yourself.
You're now the Games Workshop Golden Demon Oracle. You can like pull these pieces and dates and names just off the top of your head. Like
Matt, you're my motivation. I'm like, if I do something good enough, I'll go in Matt's next book.
I keep sending you the dates. 72, 71.
That's the plan.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there with that. But so what are the goals then?
Get my Iron Skull entry done and get my Golden Demon entry done and be happy that I know I've put the best effort that I can into them, regardless of whatever they do. Don't really care. I just want to be happy with them because I painted a few competition pieces and I painted them trying to win, and I just was so disappointed with them.
Yeah, I did
that. So not doing that anymore. Just be
it's a
content
fool's
with
game.
them. Yeah, doesn't work.
Very nice. Sorry, I'm just jotting down a subject that I'll talk to you boys about afterwards. I think might be a really good episode, but we'll leave that for now. Lovely, and by all means in the chat, fire out some of your goals for the year. It's always fun, and once they're on the internet, that they're legally binding, I believe.
I can't believe I said I'll do an army.
So,
I've recorded. It's on record now that I've got to get my 1,000 Suns finished. So I've got to do it.
There we are.
It's the perfect way of doing this, though, because it means I'm actually going to do it now.
There we go. We'll see.
I get the shit taken out of me as it is. Is it there?
We'll have to make a wall of shame. Stuff we didn't do that we said we were going to do.
Shame.
Very nice. Well, that's I think probably just scratched the surface of that topic. And I know we've sort of spoke about certain things like commitment and sort of discipline and that in par shows and stuff, but I thought it'd be a fun one to start the year off with, seeing as it seems to be what everyone's talking about on their various platforms at the moment. So any more you guys want to say on that, or are we good to move on?
Only just quickly, one of the things I think is the crowning point of all this is be like kind to yourself if it doesn't work out. Like it is hard. It is hard to get stuff done, and if you're putting brush to model, you're already winning. So take that.
And failure is an option, right? There you go.
Failure is an option.
Nice is done, Rich. Yeah.
You can tell how different me and Andy are just from this one segment.
No, punish yourself. Put yourself in a little room and get somebody to whip you if necessary.
Penitence.
Well, speaking of other hobbies, right? Let's move on to paint colours then, Matt. I believe we're on there. So we'll close out the show as usual. We're taking a look at a handful of the hashtag Paint Cultist pieces. We started the hashtag when we started the show over a year ago. It's mainly on Instagram. You can do it on the other platforms, but Instagram's where it's at. So if you're on that platform, give it a follow. You've got thousands and thousands and thousands of different styles of models and different styles of painting on there. So if you're looking for a way into maybe sort of opening yourself up to a slightly broader range of hobby, it's a cracking little hashtag to follow. And all I do each show is just grab a couple that have caught my eye when I'm looking through them and just sort of show them off to the guys and talk about them. There are whips and stuff on there. There are scratch builds. By all means, they're all welcome. generally I'll try and only show finished pieces. There's one piece on there at the moment that I really, really hope the person finishes because I really, really want to show it. But we'll have to see. But for tonight, what we got, Matt? I don't think there's too many, right? It's 5 or 6. I've dialed it back a little. Okay, that's better than normal.
Well,
this account, I feature this account quite often. This is in a rather odd way. This is my happy place for hobbying.
For you, mate.
You know, I didn't really talk about my sort of goals and stuff like that because ultimately I don't really sure where I'm at with it all at the moment. But as a few people have said in the comments, I think enjoying it needs to be at the key. You know, it's a hobby after all. What do I enjoy from the hobby? And one thing I'm wondering about is whether I'm starting to get a little bit lost in the process of things as opposed to the end results of stuff and all that. But you don't need to hear about that. This is a fucking wicked model, right? No idea where it's from. No idea if it's conversion. It looks very sort of Adrian Smith, Chronicles of Hate. It's got a bit of that. What was that Nightmare one that was out a few years ago? Oh, loads of hands, boobs, Kingdom Death. It's got a bit of that sort of to it. The paint job, I think, just fits it perfectly. Yeah, this is exactly in a really grotesque way. This is a happy place for my sort of hobby to produce something like this.
It's from Bestiarium Miniatures.
There we go. Thanks, man.
Great name. This looks like it's from Silent Hill. It's terrifying.
Yeah,
it's the people in the belly trying to get.
Oh, mate.
Oh my god! Is there people in there?
Yeah, look. Yeah. I love the paint job. Like the colours of it. Look how colourful it is. What is ostensibly when you glance at it, you think, oh, that's a dark, dingy, grotty, grimdark thing, and then you look at it and you realise just how much colour there is on that
green, yellow, blue, red,
all the colours of the rainbow.
Perfect.
Hashtag Rainbow Marines.
But this is the energy I want to try and bring to 2022. This thing here.
Big grim dark energy.
Yeah. So what's up next, Matt?
Nope.
There you go.
Yeah.
There was a lot of Cursed City stuff on the hashtag these last few weeks, and I think it is fantastic that they're bringing that box set back. I don't care why it went. I honestly don't give a shit about any of that. It's some amazing models in there. From what I can gather, it's quite a fun game as well. But it's some amazing models. I've said it before. That GW Undead release that happened towards the end of the last edition, I think got a little bit sort of not brushed under the carpet, but I think because you had at the similar time you had Cursed City, you had the rest of the Undead stuff, then you had all those massive models, didn't you? You had Kraggles and Croak and all of that. Yeah. That new Soulblight Gravelords and all of this is, I think, an incredible range of miniatures. I genuinely, they're up there with Orcs for me, as in I could only hobby painting these and be happy, I reckon, for a year. Just painting that one range of miniatures.
Mate, I've got 2,000 points of Undead and I've got like half of what I want. It's insane. Such good. That was similar to what I was saying earlier about the glow up, like the old zombies comparative to the new ones.
Very different, right? Very
that's
different.
A glow up.
Yeah. Does anyone want to buy some off me?
But yeah, this piece, City Painter, just lovely atmosphere. Again, just
great paint job.
Great model, great paint jobs, really tastefully done, suits the model. Again, black background doing work there.
I like it.
Yeah, just
nice
spot on.
And lots, candle as well.
Plenty of critters. You've got to have at least 4 critters, or I'm not even bothering putting the pictures up anymore. So yeah, people like that. So yeah, lovely stuff. And I thought you'd appreciate the root, Sandy. This I'm loving. I've just fired up our 3D printer this week. It's been sat there for ages. Finally got around to it. And this, I believe, this was 3D printed stuff. Obviously, one of the greatest films of all time. How cool is it just to be able to go, oh fuck it, I'm just going to print out the Predator kill team and paint them up and paint them up very nicely. But yeah, it's pretty exciting, right?
This is what Pathogens should be,
right? Maybe, who knows, right? Who knows what we'll see? I really hope we'll see new Gata-chans. I think they have just the right level of sort of 80s camp that still has a place in 40k.
Yeah, it's got if they've all got headbands on still, we're all good.
I don't know if I ever told you, but I did actually have a Gata-chan army.
Of course you did. Of course you did. Used to cosplay, didn't you, to events as well?
I was going to say, isn't that just you? If you need to go as one for the next one, just bandana, orc head, vest.
That is just something I would never do now because I don't have Imperial Guard. But when I was a kid, I loved Gata-chans.
It's just cool, right? It's the reason we love Arnie, basically. Yeah, but yeah, again, just nicely executed. I'd never have seen this if I didn't follow the hashtag.
Great paint job.
It's really cool. It's a cool paint job, isn't it? Camo's always hard on small models.
It's really good. Nice one, Adam.
All right, what's up next? Oh, this is nice. I think this is Martin, if I remember rightly. I think that's his hashtag. It's in the chat, if he's still in the chat. Yeah, just a really original, cool take. This is meant to represent the Virkos, the little dudes that come with the wolfy vampires. This is like accounts as, I believe, on this. I'm trying to remember the comment I read underneath the post now. But I just thought, yeah, I've no idea where the model's from. I assume it's a bunch of conversions from probably Warcry kits. As I'm going to hazard a guess.
Actually, yeah.
But yeah, just yeah, lovely. I obviously think all of these things are lovely, otherwise I wouldn't have picked them to show you guys. But you know, hopefully it's showing people the breadth of stuff that got out on that hashtag. There's a couple more, I think, Matt. Is there?
Yep, it's a few more.
Hey, that's cool.
Where are we? Oh, this is rad.
What model is that?
So this is I can't remember the company's name again. Account will be in the thing. Go and have a look. But this company has basically made a bunch of more time models to be used for more time.
Cool.
So it's sort of channeling that era, that artwork, that vibe. I mean, more time's still going more than strong.
It's cool.
And, from Heresy Lab.
There we are. So just yeah.
I love a fat lad.
Love the paint job on him.
Really. Any models of big fat angry blokes, I just love it.
Isn't it cool how people are like using, more people are doing OSL because we've seen like 2 tonight and they're doing it in like a tasteful way.
Absolutely.
Like people have learned that it's not airbrushing it pure white.
With an airbrush from one direction.
Yeah. 2 very tasteful OSL jobs. And also what we saw with the Games Workshop Inquisitor model, like the OSL off the green flame on the sword. It's so important for the look of minis, and it's really cool that people are doing it. And this is a really nice OSL on the arm and stuff, isn't it?
Very cool.
Absolutely.
On your gaming minis too. Brilliant.
Yeah, I know, right? I've just realised the chat's been cracking on. I'll just see if there's anything I've missed in there. Move the next slide on, Matt, and we can see what's on there. I'll have a look at the chat. Vampire Acolyte. Scions of the Flame. Oh, I thought so. I've got that kit. Should have known that.
That's a cool project for any
kit.
Too,
what's here we go. Yes, the wonderfulness that is these silly little chaps. The name's completely gone now. People that make this, I'm really sorry, I've forgotten that. But yeah, we're talking about sort of projects that just bring you joy and just make you chuckle. I think there's a few different. I really missed Salute these last few years because Salute was such a great place to find these small producers that had these real creative visions. And more and more nowadays the means to realize them, and you could go and see. It's one thing seeing something. Moonstone. I don't think this is Moonstone, but Moonstone's one that springs to mind for that. You see it online, you're like, oh yeah, it's cool, whatever, and you sort of move on. But actually, when you're there at that show and they've got their big 2x2 beautiful modular, sculpted game board with the little forces playing across it, you're just like, yeah, this is perfect. This is wargaming. This is what I got into the hobby for. And I've really missed that from shows. And this just sort of reminded me of those types of minis that we see. Cool. That we see at these sorts of shows. I think there's maybe one more.
It's the last one.
Perfection.
From the front and the back.
Does it get any better? Right? Big dick energy in model form. Right? It's just a robin on a stump on a base.
Very festive.
It is festive. I mean, it's 2 weeks late, but we got there.
It's still the holiday season.
Yeah, you never know.
It's not, mate.
Might get some snow in a bit.
Holiday season is 24th to the 26th.
Yeah, you watch your snow. It'll like snow in 2 months.
How's that? Snow?
It'll snow in 2 months, and this will be perfect.
It will. It's perfect now. I don't know what you're on about. Yeah, there's also. I mean, there's no two ways about it. If you stick a critter on that hashtag, there's a high percentage chance I'm going to stick it in the end. It's just where I'm feeling at the moment.
Honestly,
let's go and paint some really.
There you go. That'll get you back on the straight and narrow, mate. Just go and pick a critter and do that.
Oh, mate, it's not so much. Yeah, there's tons of stuff I like to paint. My goal thing's coming much more from a point of view of just trying to understand what I enjoy about the hobby. I think Andy probably can sympathise with this a little bit, but when you make it this your livelihood, your business, I certainly feel that there's certain pressures to produce stuff. I think and I'm not a competition painter by any means, but Andy's said it multiple times. If you're not painting stuff, you're not relevant. And that's been a real toss up. That obviously getting the business to where it is now, working hard in it last few years, is there's had to be sacrifices with personal hobby and getting it the business. So for me, my goals this year are to get out there and teach more classes, but also I need to figure out what's going to get me that drive, to do that. And the personal hobby side of things. As I said, I think maybe I've got one army in me this year, but I don't know. I don't really care. It's a very odd space, just a very odd space at the moment with all the girls. Not a negative space by any means whatsoever, but just wanting to know where to push my personal hobby energy. From a work point of view, me and Andy have got a pretty good idea of what this year's got ahead of us, and it's very exciting.
The ears are pointy.
Yeah, from a personal point of view, I need to get a bit of it back. It's been.
It is a good project, mate. You need to get your teeth into.
Yeah, it's been too long.
I think you're in a great place.
I mean, you guys are both. All three of you have said it this evening. Is what you want to be able to do is finish a piece, look at it, and feel happy, and you have enjoyed it, and the joy. That's what I need to figure out what that will be this year. Not even this year. I'm gonna break the year down into quarters. And I'm that's where I'm going to set my goals. Goal for Q1, goal for Q2, goal for Q3.
I'm only having 3 quarters this year.
So on. And so, and you'll burn out quarter. We'll just eat biscuits and play video games.
Oh, well, when Zelda 2 comes out, then I'm having a month off. So it better not come out before Golden Demon.
Oh, I am incredibly, I can't talk about it, but I'm incredibly excited about a painting thing that you'll see in about 5 weeks or so to do with video gaming, but I can't talk about it yet. I haven't even told Andy yet, but because it only happened today. But I'm very excited about that. So that might get me pumped. That might get me going for it. So if you're in the chat this evening, thank you ever so much for joining us. If you're watching the show back on YouTube, thanks very much. Share it around. The more people watching, the better. If you've got any comments, leave them by all means. But if you ever want to get in touch with us, we're on all the usual social medias. You've got email, blah, blah, blah. It's not hard to get hold of us. If you've got ideas that you'd like us to topics to cover on future shows, then please let us know. We've got an idea of what the year ahead's going to bring you. To that end, we've talked about possibly putting up somewhat of a schedule for you to give you an idea. All right, there's an interview coming on this date, and blah blah blah. So there's lots of stuff coming with that we're very excited to share with you all. Matt, Andy, Rich, thanks very much for joining tonight. It was really interesting to listen to your opinions on all of that. I think there's a lot more to it than just paint this unit by the end of the month, or get that army done. think it's not quite. It's never quite as simple as that, right?
Not anymore. No, not now we're old.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Time poor. Time poor. But yeah, thanks ever so much for joining us. Thanks you guys for watching. We will see you in a couple of weeks. I think we're back for the next one. We're going to try and stick to the 2-weeker. As I say, any questions, always reach out to us. Until then, see you next time.
Ciao.